Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, it is so great to have you. I'm Antoinette, a New Zealander living in Germany. And in this video today, I am going to be talking about 5 phrases in the English language that many Germans get wrong. I've actually noticed that even Germans who have a really great level of English still sometimes get these phrases wrong. And before I get into it, I just want to make it clear right now that I am in no way trying to make fun of Germans speaking English. That is the last thing I want to do. I am so impressed by how well so many Germans can speak English. And to be honest, anybody, in my opinion, who has the courage to learn and speak a foreign language is just incredible and so brave. My intention of this video is just to kind of help some of you Germans out a little bit, because I know from personal experience what it feels like when you realize that you've made a really big mistake in a foreign language. So I'm obviously a native English speaker who has learnt German or is still learning German as a second language. And my husband is a native German speaker. There have been many times when my husband has overheard me speaking German to people, and then he'll say to me, "Oh, actually you said that wrong." And I'm like, "Oh my goodness, are you serious?" Because these may have been phrases that I have been saying for years in German and had no idea that they were completely wrong. And nobody had corrected me until my husband heard me say it. The funny thing is that many Germans have no problem at all correcting you if you have broken a rule or something like that. But when it comes to the German language, they don't often correct you if you've made a mistake. It's more they will just let you speak German, and they almost feel embarrassed to correct you, or they feel like they're going to be offending you. It's the same with native English speakers. We don't want to tell you if you've made a mistake speaking English. For one, we are super impressed that you can speak English, and 2, we don't want to embarrass you, or we don't want to make you feel like you're not speaking English well when actually really you are. You may have just made a little mistake. Maybe in real life I would hold back from correcting you if you make this mistake, but in this video I'm not going to hold back, and I am going to tell you some of the mistakes that you may have been making in English. Okay, so one mistake that I hear native German speakers saying all the time, including my husband, he said this for the longest time, and to be honest, this doesn't sound that bad, and we know exactly what you are talking about, but it just ends up sounding a little bit funny. It's quite often a German will say something along the lines of, "I'm getting dressed up to go jogging," or "I'm getting dressed up to go to the supermarket," when really they mean "I'm getting dressed to go to the supermarket," or "I'm getting dressed to go jogging." Because when you say that you are getting dressed up, it means that you are getting like all dolled up, maybe to go to a dance or go out night clubbing or something like that, or "I'm getting dressed up to go to a carnival." As a native English speaker, you would never say that you are getting dressed up to go jogging or to go just somewhere casual. Maybe you like to get really dressed up with pearls and diamonds to go jogging, but most likely you probably wouldn't. So just that tiny little tweak makes you sound so much more like a native English speaker. So the next phrase that many Germans get wrong is something I don't hear on a daily basis, not even a weekly or a monthly basis, but I have heard many Germans say this over the years that I've been living here, and that is along the lines of, "I am studying to become a street worker," or "My friend is a street worker," and it always would confuse me. So for a native English speaker, when we hear the word street worker, we most likely would think of a construction worker who was working on the road, like digging up the road and creating like a new street. And so that's what springs to mind, a construction worker. But what Germans actually mean is that they are studying to become a social worker, which is somebody who works with the community. They may work with troubled youth or something like that. And also another thing, for some reason it pops into my mind, Street worker reminds me of street walker, which is actually prostitute. So either an English speaker, a native English speaker, will think that you're meaning a construction worker or a prostitute. So just remember, a street worker is a person that is working on the road, in construction, and a social worker is what you are meant to say. Okay, so another mistake that many Germans make, a very, very common mistake in English that my husband always made, and even though I would correct him constantly, he would still make this mistake. A German might say, "Are you driving with your bike or the train to work?" And it just sounds a little bit funny for us native English speakers, because what we would say is, are you riding your bike to work or are you taking the train to work? And so driving, if you're driving, you are the driver, usually in a car or a train or a bus. We would say, are you going with the train, which means, or are you taking the train to work? You know, with the bike, we wouldn't say, are you driving the bike? We would say, are you riding the bike? And it's such a simple little mistake that can be fixed super easily, but I know that many Germans get this wrong. So don't worry if you've made this mistake, it's not a big deal. Even my kids who have grown up from birth speaking English and German, they have a great level of both English and German, and they still make this mistake sometimes. So it's really easy to do. Okay, so another very common mistake that so many Germans make, I hear this all the time in Germany. Actually, I don't hear it so much these days, but when I was younger, before kids, when I first came to Germany, I would go to nightclubs and parties and things like that, and Germans may have overheard me speaking English and they'd come up to me and say, "Do you have a fire?" And I'd be like, "What? A fire?" I was so confused. What they actually meant is, do you have a light? Which means, do you have a lighter so I can light my cigarette up? And it just sounds so funny. Do you have a fire? Like a huge, massive bushfire or something. So yeah, Germans say it all the time. So I actually found that kind of cute. But you don't hear it so much these days because not a lot of Germans actually smoke anymore. When I first moved to Germany, there were so many Germans who smoked. These days you don't see as many, but there are still Germans that smoke. Okay, so last but not least, a very, very common mistake that many Germans make speaking English. Once again, this is not a big deal. It's a really, really easy mistake to make, and I think even my husband still makes this mistake, even though I've been correcting him for years. And this is, what time do you stand up in the morning? Instead of, what time do you get up in the morning? And technically, it's kind of right. You can say, what time do you stand up? Which, you know, you stand up out of bed. That's logical, but we just don't say that in English. Also, you'll hear Germans saying, I stand up at 6 o'clock every morning, instead of I get up at 6 o'clock every morning. Simple fix, not a big deal at all. So anyway guys, that is all I've got for this video. I hope it was helpful to some of you. I hope no one was offended by this, because as I said, I'm not trying to criticize German speaking English. I think you guys are amazing. If you make these mistakes, don't worry, not a big deal. And also, as I mentioned, there have been so many mistakes that I have made in German and later realised that I've made these mistakes. And the only way that I've been able to know that I've made that mistake is by my husband telling me. And so I really appreciate somebody telling me that I've made a little mistake in German so I can correct myself and remember that for the future. So anyway guys, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. I would love you to consider subscribing to my channel. I know that so many of you who watch my videos are not actually subscribed, so if you would subscribe, that would mean the world to me. Feel free to connect with me on Instagram, and I will see you again really soon. Bye!